going to learn how to make espresso. So this is just plain espresso. And to make this, you would need this called a portafilter. And with the portafilter, you fill it with coffee grounds. The most important thing is making sure the coffee grounds are right at the line. And then you would tap it down. If you don't have a tapper, you would tap it down with 100 pounds of pressure. And some people say 30 pounds is better. But 100 pounds 3 times. So if it was to do one, you can knock it. And if it's loose, then it's not tapped hard enough. That's the most important part of making shots, or else it would be more just like drip coffee, is getting the fine ground and using all the pressure. So this is what comes out of that. The next most common drink is a latte. And the latte is espresso, milk, and flavoring. And a latte is usually what you would see in a hot cup. And it's just a normal drink. So we're going to go ahead and add milk to this. We're going to make an iced latte just because I don't have hot milk. So the milk. And so you would have 1.5 ounces of flavoring. So I can measure that out. So this would be 1.5 ounces. So like in a 20, this would have 2 ounces, and a 24 it would have 2.5. So it's actually more flavoring than you think that to put in it. And then since it's ice, we're just going to add a little bit of ice to it. And that would be an iced latte. So the next thing we want to go over would be a breve, which is exactly the same as this. So I'm not going to make it, but the only difference is that you would use half and half instead of regular milk. And it would be the same amount of flavoring and everything. And also you would add ice if it was iced, and you would steam the milk if it was hot. So next drink we're going to do would be a granita. And there's 2 different names, I'm sure you've heard it. There's the granita and the frappuccino. So for the granita, it would be a blended drink, and we would want to fill the cup all the way with ice. As you can see, the shots come up about halfway, so you only have a little bit more room for some milk. And then, of course, the flavoring, which would be another 1.5. I'm only going to put half in there. And then the only other thing we would add to this would be some blending powder, which I just have in a cup. We use frostline, which is how you make ice cream, which is kind of weird. So this would be the same measurements. It would be 1.5. We would put that in there. And then blending this would make a granita, or sorry, frappuccino. Without the coffee, it would be considered a granita. Okay, and another drink that we're going to go over is the Americano. Americano is ordered, if we don't have drip coffee, then Americano would be the next thing to order. And that would just be water and shots. So at this point you would ask if they want cream or sugar. And if they wanted it iced, it would be with ice. If not, it would be in a hot cup. And flavoring usually doesn't go in the Americano, because then it would just be watered down coffee with flavoring. But cream and sugar is pretty common. And those are the top 5 drinks that we make. Do you guys have any questions, or how do you guys usually?
I didn't know the Americano was that. I thought it was something.
Yeah, this is the most plain one. Well, besides just this espresso.
So the Frappuccino has the most in it?
Yeah, the Frappuccino takes the longest to make.
That's so good. I like the granitas.
Yeah, and that
Was
can
that different than coffee? But that's,
Right?
yeah, because we learned that our granitas had coffee. You could get a triple, a single, triple,
like shots in it,
mocha.
huh?
Yeah, you just got the
Okay.
espresso shots.
Oh, sure.
And then mocha would just be instead of the flavoring, it would be chocolate.
Right.
Right.
Oh.
But it would
Chocolate.
be
But actually
exactly
mocha,
the
right?
same. Yeah.
Actually, the mocha chocolate, not regular chocolate.
Yeah, well, it's,
Because mocha.
Mocha
we use
syrup is
Hershey
fine
syrup,
chocolate. Oh, I see.
so,
Because mocha's actually different.
And granita is chopped ice is pretty much all it is, blended ice. Like, that's what it means.
coffee, which is, it has more caffeine in it, and that has the more nutty taste, it doesn't really have the coffee taste. And so a common drink to make would be like the White Angel, which would be white chocolate and white coffee.
Or the snow, or the snow.
Yeah,
Chocolate.
It's white coffee.
yeah, white coffee,
Milkshake.
white chocolate.
Or a milkshake.
I didn't know you put the ice cream stuff in there, I didn't know that came in the granules though.
Yeah,
We never use
Some
that.
places don't use it.
yeah, some
That's
people
cool.
don't, it makes it a little stronger, but if you want it sweeter, it's better like that. Cause I usually put extra in mine.
So you put that in for sweetness? Oh, cool.
And it's also, it makes it thicker, and if you don't have it in it, the color starts to, like the flavoring and the, starts
Separate.
to separate. So if you notice that, then it means that they don't.
I
Do you
never
guys
did.
have any questions?
Nope.